So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
How's it going, people? Thanks for joining us for another recap of Severance. As usual, is your co-host I, Ron, and also D. D, how's it going?
Good. I'm also here representing for my 1A babies. I hope y'all see them.
I got to finish that show. Well, this season, yeah.
For my babies. But yes, I'm great. Thanks for asking. I really don't
But
care how
yeah,
you're doing, but I'll ask anyway.
thank you. This is episode 5, the grim barbarity of optics and design. Kind of feel like there's a double meaning there. But before we get into that, shout out to all the Spotify podcast listeners. We tested out a new feature that allows us to ask the audience a question, and you can respond, and then we can, give your answer on the show. The question we asked last week was a pretty basic one: what does Lumen do exactly? And the best answer we received was from a Tyler Kirby. Shout out to Tyler Kirby, and he says it seems like a mix of Apple and Pfizer. They primarily focus on research and biotechnology, but have their fingers in everything. This is housing, cameras, microchips, and even law enforcement. Hmm. I think I like that one.
I agree with it too. Because I don't think we can like quantify what they do with one thing. So the whole idea of them just being around and kind of being a catch-all makes perfect sense. Especially since they're so mysterious.
Yeah, yeah. And I think even with like these different sectors, they still have one particular mission, and that mission we don't quite know yet. But before we proceed, let's do as we always do. D, recap us of our previous episode, episode 4. Go.
First, last episode was tough. It was mostly, well, it was about a bunch of people, but I felt it was mostly about Helly. She really, really doesn't want to be there, and she speaks via video to her outie after threatening to cut her fingers off. And her outie made sure to tell her that she is not a real person, which hurt my feelings because I couldn't imagine hearing myself say you're not a real person or saying anything disparaging towards me at all. Um, Goes through all of that. Petey's phone is still ringing. Um, June, we meet her, which is Petey's daughter. And I say we meet her, but we have a small conversation, but we do get into a look into her and Petey's relationship, which seemed beautiful just from the clip we saw from the funeral. Um, Harmony stole Petey's chip during the funeral from his head, which is insane. Um, we are trying to figure out if he was reintegrated because Harmony seems to believe that he really was. Like she has gotten into her brain that it is something that has happened, although they have made it clear that the procedure is irreversible. We kind of compare that we're starting to get into some biblical stuff with it, with as far as the handbook kind of relating to the Bible. Um, they sent Mark, yes, Mark,
Mhm.
to wellness where the candle that um, Harmony stole from his house was burning. He made a tree from clay, which we are thinking may have something to do with his wife's death, possibly,
Mhm.
maybe.
Yes,
And
yes.
the most heart wrenching part of the episode ended with Helly attempting to commit suicide.
Very,
And
very
that
good
is where
recap.
we go. You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, let's get into episode 5. Once again, the title is the Grand Barbarity of Optics and Design. Optics and Design. We pick up right where we left off, um, with Haley in the elevator, and yeah. So something interesting happened. She was able to go to the bottom floor. And you know what happens when you're in the elevator, you go to the bottom floor, you snap back to your real self. So her outie self is now aware of what she was doing, but the elevator went right back up and they were able to grab her before she expired, basically. And I don't even have words for like how traumatic that experience must be given like the context. Like it's traumatic already, but given the context of this show where your outside self is forcing your inside self to do this thing, and your inside self is saying like, well, I'll show you. And then your outside self awakes with, you know, yeah, hanging from the ceiling of an elevator, and then you snap back and you know that's it. So yeah, D, what did you think watching this? I guess initial scene.
It's tough because one, you're right. I can't imagine anything scarier in my ideas of thoughts. It's actually one of my greatest fears to go to sleep and be awakened to trauma, to something traumatic happening, whether it be like, something is on fire, like my skin is burning, or I'm having some sort of problem. So to imagine, because it's almost like what it is. She walks into an elevator, and then in the next moment to her, she is hanging. Like that doesn't the thought of it doesn't even I can't even put it into words what it must feel like. On the other hand, I don't like to say people deserve things. Um, but it's almost like I'm going to put you on notice that this is what is going to happen if you don't save me. Because I stand by what I said before. The message that Helly sent to her any was just cruel. It was very cruel, and it was almost like a challenge. That's just how it felt to me. It felt to me either like a challenge or a green light. And I couldn't figure out which it was. And I still don't know because outside Helly just this was happening, and of course your fight or flight is going to make sure you try to survive. Like nobody's just gonna allow themselves to die, right? If that wasn't your plan. So
All right.
I still don't know Audi Helly's motive. Like I still can't figure her out. So I think that's my biggest thing. I really want to figure out what her move or her goal or motivation or any of it is, because I think it'll help it make sense.
Yeah, I still feel like Audi Helly is being forced to be in there because if there's one thing that's consistent with every person in this department, like their outside self subconsciously seeps through. So the fact that she is resisting this so strongly, like she is like, I'm gonna stick with that until I see otherwise. She is clearly being held against her will.
Hmm. It that makes the most sense. And the fact, like, even if you go back to the beginning when she kept trying trying to get back in the
Mm,
stairwell, that's the right way, that's the right word.
mm.
When she was trying to get back in the stairwell, Audi Heller was like, "Oof, I really don't want to be in there," but Milchick was sitting right there, so it's not like she could have just been like, you know what, just call the whole thing off, it's fine, whatever. She knew she had to keep going back in there.
Mm.
So I don't really I'm like you. I feel like it's prison. I want to say they said prison in this episode. They actually
They
said prison.
did.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing here. You want to know how you make a basically you don't want to know how you control a prisoner, you make them feel like they're free.
there it is.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. So it's like it's very clear that Harmony is not. Um, she's wise. She knows exactly how they feel. So she knows that they feel like they're in prison. It's not like they're doing this experiment and they didn't realize that the innies would feel trapped. She knows that they
Mm,
feel this way. And that's the other thing that's confusing to me, because I would think that if you did know this, that the whole make them feel like they're free, whatever else, like that part of it, yes, but you would give them some sort of incentive to being there. because they're
All
still
right.
people, right? Like they're not out, regardless of what Audi Helly says, they are still real people. So there has to be some sort of motivation that makes them want to do anything. Because my whole
There is
thought has been
finger
like
finger traps.
finger traps.
Yeah, finger traps.
My whole thought though, but remember when they he was bragging about the finger traps and the waffle party, but when Mark did his
Hmm.
announcements, he's like, please refrain from speaking about past waffle parties. So it's like they don't even want them to
Hmm.
encourage her or to, make her think that there is something joyful that can come from being there. They just want them to be mindless machines, and you can't do that with people. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't know. I've never experienced it. But that's kind of what prisons want too. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like none of it makes sense. And I just be glad when it is. Um, I do want to point though that Harmony berated Mark and made this whole thing his fault because she
Yeah,
said this happened on your watch. My first thought was, excuse my language, bitch, it was your watch too. Like
because
you're
yeah, like
also there.
monitoring the employees isn't his purview. So yeah,
I mean, he is the what is he now? The manager. He's there.
yeah,
What's his
he's
new
their
job?
manager, but I mean, like,
But you're little. They've shown us that Harmony can literally watch them because she did it this episode. And I just feel like, as a person who has heard, who has seen directly a person threaten to cut off four of their fingers with no anesthesia and with a paper cutter, that she might be a little off. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that as if mentally she is not okay. So you should probably monitor her for that reason alone. But to antagonize her seems weird, and then to blame somebody else for it seems even more weird. But we forgot to mention last week, Mark did tell her she seemed to be getting the hang of it, which I don't think is was meant to be missed because, she went and did something with that word in her mind.
yeah, yeah, she certainly
The
did.
hang
Yeah,
the hang of it. Okay. So the book. I wanted to ask you about that. Milchick
we we
hasn't.
we we are on the same page on this. So, um, didn't they notice the book is missing?
It's just gone.
Somebody,
It's
it's
just
just
gone.
gone.
It's just gone, and he hasn't said a word about it. And I'm thinking maybe he hasn't said anything because he was supposed to do something with it. Maybe.
And okay, I'm willing to like suspend this a bit because obviously they're having a rough couple of days, so
Hmm.
the book is like a very low priority.
Hmm.
But by now, somebody should notice the book is gone. We could rectify that if they find the book once again in a place it isn't supposed to be, and they'd be like, "Oh, damn, we forgot about the book."
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm on the same page as you. Shouldn't somebody have mentioned the book by now?
Ronnie, if you leave right now, you have a mic on your desk. If you leave, or you're drinking something, you got a can on your desk. If you leave out of the room and do something, when you come back, when you notice that can was missing,
I wouldn't notice it was missing. Yes.
I think you would notice, especially if you're not supposed to have it. Like if it's already contraband, you would think that your mind would be, oh crap, let me make sure to get this and leave it. But he just left it in the conference room in the chair, and now it's not there, and it's just kind of like, oh okay, maybe he thinks somebody from O&D has it. I don't know.
I think we could use this as segue into like something that happened in this episode. Milicic was clearly just having some recreation time with the book because in my mind, I mean, true enough, they were checking it for clues, but he was like just reading it leisurely.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, like he probably did something out of protocol, and in this episode, he kind of takes initiative, and in a way that Harmony doesn't quite agree with. Um, yeah, he sends the pictures to the printer.
Did you did you know what he was doing? Because I called it from jump.
Yeah, I kind of
I
had
called
an
it.
idea. Yeah.
I said because when the picture was there, I'm like, this is odd because they're not supposed to have, anything other than the word of
Mhm.
care or whatever else. And I'm thinking, who else could have left it here? There's nobody else that could have left this picture here. And then once they confirmed that he was doing it just to, discourage him from going to O&D, I'm like, oh, okay, fine. But it made me think, why not just tell him not to go? Like, can they not do
Yeah,
that?
because that's a terrible plan to me. Because if all right, so Dylan planted this pretty much incredulous, like ridiculous story, and the pictures are a depiction of that story of sorts. So it's just human nature sometimes that you can be like, well, I got to see about that myself.
Mm-hmm.
So in trying to deter him from going to O&D, it's making him more curious about O&D.
Especially since he's enamored, with the
Yeah.
person from O&D. And it also made me notice because I hadn't picked it up that they have different color badges. I didn't pay any attention because it just didn't, it didn't matter
Yep,
then,
I
but
only
I did
noticed
notice it.
like this episode. Yep.
Yeah, but their badges, O&D's badges are green. Yeah, O&D's badges are green and remediation, what is it? What's the department?
Data refinement, their
Data
badges are
refinement.
blue.
Their badges are blue. So in the picture, of course, they made sure to show that it was the people with the green badges that were holding
Mm,
the shanks or whatever it was that they were trying
yeah.
to kill. Now, according to Dylan, they staged a coup. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's just weird. But all right, whatever. Now, does he at all mention how long ago this was? Was it fairly recent? Did this happen way back in time?
He never mentions it.
Okay. He just knows it happened
And
or thinks it happened.
like he thinks it happens. We don't know the origin of the story, but I how do I say this? How do I ask this rather? Do you feel like there's any truth to this story?
Mm-mm. I think it's an urban legend planted specifically by Harmony or whoever or the powers that be to
But
cause.
let me
But
interject. When Dylan Dylan actually finds a picture that
mm-hmm,
depicts that.
mm-hmm. But what is the other picture to pick?
I know it's the other way though. So what I'm saying is like the act itself, this coup,
Oh, you're saying it could have happened, just not this way.
right?
So who did it?
Data
And why are we
refinement.
keeping them apart? what if? What
Because
if
yeah, on the picture that they find is data refinement doing the staging the coup, doing the disembowelment.
we're skipping ahead, people, because clearly it goes together. But when they find the other picture, it's the other way around, right?
Right.
It's the reverse. It's the green badges who are being disemboweled. What if, to your point, they did like this revolution happened and they together turned on someone else? So in order to keep that from never happening again, they've depicted it so that they would have beef. These two sides will have beef. You see what I'm saying? Like
Hold on. Yeah, no,
Alabama and
hold
Auburn
on.
hate each other because we're in the same state. But what if once upon a time we loved each other? Work with me, people. Just saying. We loved each other and we were a powerhouse. So Florida was like, oh no, they keep beating us. So let's divide them. And then it worked. What if that happened?
I'll even take it further. Like, no.
What? Say
Never
it.
mind.
Say
Never
it.
mind.
Say it. Say it.
All right, because the pictures that are in optics and design have all been up in the hallways at some point in time. They discovered that picture and it's like, oh yeah, we haven't hung this one yet. So either they're keeping it there for a reason or it's a new picture. If you
Which, but they're obviously doctored pictures because you can't have. this, I mean, because they're different, so it has to be some made up
So
picture.
what? All right. So what Milicek sent to the printer is the doctored picture. What we found later, the one where data refinement was leading the coup, I feel like that's the real one.
You do? So you think it's just, I mean, okay, so you think it happened, but you think that it actually was data refinement that
I,
staged the coup?
I'm
That's
saying
why
is
it's only
I
four
don't.
of them?
I'm saying I don't know if it happened, but I just find it interesting that in a place where basically like these are like hieroglyphics, the history of like this industry, like there's this picture that depicts something like that. And true enough, like all these are dramatized, like Kier meeting his wife, and she's like in a damn bucket of like molten like
Mm,
metals and stuff. Like obviously these are dramatized, but
yeah,
still like
yeah.
they're depicting something.
They're depicting, yeah, but I'm still thinking it could be, like you said, there was a coup, but to keep the powers that be away, because we don't know how many departments there are, right? So
No, we don't.
there may be this picture in every department, but they're just different color badges.
I mean, they're damn goat department apparently. Like,
The goat department. You know what I'm saying? So maybe the goat department, whatever their badges are, their picture just has blue and whatever their pictures are. And then the other department has red and orange, and the other one has black and white. So everybody is just against everybody. But because O&D and what data refinement, since they're on the same floor, maybe that's just why they're purposefully putting the two of them against each other so they won't rise up, you know. Do you want a revolution? Do you
I
want
don't
a
know.
revolution?
I don't know. Like, I just feel like, and this is like as a whole, like this episode was sort of like muted, like looking at it, like at first glance, but just like with like most shows we've reviewed, I feel like this is the episode where we're gonna look back and be like, okay, it was all there in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like this is like the one. I feel like they gave us a lot. Like we're gonna
We
see
just
the
don't know it yet.
significance of the man saying, the livestock isn't ready yet. We're going to see the significance of the photos. We're going to see the significance of also something we failed to mention, Harmony saying you better thank Kier, as in like you better thank God. Like I feel like we're going to get like all of that like from this episode.
Um, we also need to talk about Petey because there was a
Mhm.
very, very, very big realization, right? What happened?
Wait, with Petey?
Yeah. What did they
Oh,
found out?
oh. So the reintegration actually did work. It did happen.
Hmm. Now, I went back because I was like, I know I missed something. And what I missed when I watched the first episode was that Petey did mention that he bypassed the chip. Because I kept wondering, well, how is this, how, what's happening? Like, what's wrong? What's going on? Why is he able to like function, or why is he having problems? But he did say he found somebody to help him bypass the chip. Now, I don't know if that means that there was some kind of wave or something, like some kind of, you know, data blocker or something that they put in there, or they know, whoever they are, they know what it is that's keeping them connected to that building. But he said he bypassed it. So obviously there are people who know something, and it has to be other rogue people, right? Other rogue, they have to be Lubin people that either have done the surgery, or people that have developed the chip, or people that know how it works to bypass it at all. Because you can't reverse engineer something if you don't have it,
Yeah,
right?
like that group is clearly made of people who like defected, for lack of better terms. Like so, because how could you basically deconstruct something that you have no knowledge of?
Exactly. Exactly. So that they have to be either early Lumen people who were like on. on board and then realized what was going to happen and was saying, "Oh no, we're not doing this," so they left, or because they can't be people who other people who have reintegrated because if that's the case, Petey wouldn't have been the first one and he wouldn't have died, right?
Mhm. Right.
That's my guess. That's my guess. Why do you think Harmony's so interested in whether he reintegrated or not? What's your guess? She's
Um,
very, very, very adamant about finding out whether it worked or not.
because yeah, like I said, I just think that even to a degree, like she distrusts the board. So, because the board is keeps telling her like, "Hey, it's not possible. Like, just
Hmm.
leave that alone." So, I think now she's becoming curious about that. Maybe not for the reasons that, not definitely not for good reasons, but she wants to know like, a like, is this possible, and B, if so, why are they keeping it from us?
But it's like they keep a lot of stuff from her. This wouldn't be the first thing they
Yeah,
kept from
yeah.
her. So yeah, it's weird that she's very interested in this to the point where she had to get his chip back.
Hmm.
And what's his name? The other scary guy, the white one.
I can't remember, but also
Bird
like
is Bird from or Bird?
Grainer.
Where did I get Bertram from? Anyway, Grainer. He was just like, no, you can keep it. As far as the chip, because obviously it's like this means nothing to us, so you can keep it. But I don't know. Maybe Harmony. I just feel like Harmony is there's something else about there's some reason why she's so interested in people reintegrating. And I'm wondering if maybe there's somebody there that she wants or loves and wants them out. And she's thinking it's possible. Or like you said, she could just be generally curious. Genuinely curious. I mean, I don't know. What's Herb's problem? That's my next question. What's this stuff he's dreaming about
Yeah, the
dripping
the
off the
black
ceiling?
goo. Yeah.
Is it the blood from all his victims?
I Who knows? Like, cause
Once I just listen. Once it comes out that he's a serial killer, I just want you to know we're gonna spend a whole episode dedicated to me running my victory lap.
I mean, you could very well be right. Like, because it happens every time he is about to doze off, which is
And
why
it's
they
like
want you to.
haunting him, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's coming to him. Kind of want to talk about Milkshake just like leaving Mark to talk to Helly. And it's like this is the first day she's been back. She's gonna come back. She doesn't remember the last thing she remembers is being on the floor, and now she's gonna be back. So try to have kind eyes.
See, I feel like Lumen's real problem is that they don't empower their employees. They have a very poor organizational structure there. Like, because just be like, hey, you're a subordinate. Try to kill herself, but you can handle it. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, and it didn't work, and it's not gonna work. So good luck to her. I'm surprised they didn't. And I know that they had what's her name, Clara from Wellness. Is Clara?
Miss Casey, you are
Yeah,
on
she in
point
the
with
bed
that. You
today.
are
I'm
on
sorry,
points with
y'all.
the names.
Casey. They had
Y'all
her
got some
come to
names
her.
in them. Motherf-
Had her come to observe Helly, but you would have thought that they'd at least have Helly go to Wellness, right? Try
Right,
to
and
end her
also
life. Like,
right, and also I guess much like Dylan, I too would like to go to wellness.
please,
I would
please,
like to request the
you
hug. So
you can now sit
okay,
back. Okay, so listen.
okay.
Here's my question though. Um, this goes back to Addie Helly, and I'm gonna probably reference her a lot because her message was really heartbreaking. Because again, it was just really mean.
Hmm.
Um, my question to you is again, why would you make that message? Because keep in mind, first day, Helly was like, I don't want to be here. So what if I just decide to quit? Like, whatever. Mark says, well, you would, effectively cease to exist because your existence is only here, right? What part of outside Helly would threaten inside Helly? Because she already knows if you don't come back, I cease to exist anyway. So why not just die? Like, I die. This version of me dies regardless. So what makes outside Helly think that any would care about her at all?
I just got to go back to what I think. What if basically the action that Annie Helly took isn't even option for Audi Helly? Like I just
Mm,
keep going back to that. Like once again,
hmm
I can't help but to believe that she's being held against her will.
But what do you mean? Like, what does that mean? You think like she's literally being held like at some sort of facility or something? So no outside life, like because she has to get back and forth from to Lumen, right? Because
I
we
mean, yeah,
saw her
but
leave. We saw her
we
leave
we
when Milchick
did,
gave
but
her
we
those
don't.
roses and almost get hit by the car. So,
We did, but considering that they like basically stay on campus, we don't know what that looks like yet. I mean, and true enough, Mark can like kind
oh,
of like still roam, but I mean, we still don't know what that looks like yet. And for
mm,
her to like send that message, because we know because that's the thing too. It's not like they're recording this message on their own and then giving it to Lumen, and then Lumen is taking it up. No, it's Militech recording the message from the person and to the person.
mhm.
So I can't help but to
So,
believe that she just yeah, she's being held against her will.
so she can't say to her, "Hey, go ahead and do it," because I can't. Because again, like you said, they're standing there recording it.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
All right. So you think Innie and Outie Helly are one and the same? Because that's
Yeah,
kind of
because
what I think.
yeah, like going to each character and going to like the wilderness test, like I said, like their outside self, like the subconscious, like brings their outside self inside.
Hmm
And for Haley on day one to be rejecting this, so like yeah, she's really rejecting this. Like we know at the very least, like she doesn't want to be there, and I guess by transitive properties, outside Haley likely doesn't want to be there.
How how does Okay, so did Petey bypass his chip before he officially left Lumen? Because Petey remembered that he hit a map for inside him, and he had the recording from the break room.
You know what? You ask a good question because let's think about the resignation process. You send your resignation to your outside self, and nine times out of not even 9 times out of 10 times out of 10, your outside self is going to be like, I don't want this, I reject the resignation.
Hmm
So therefore, his outside self must have bypassed the chip. His innie sent the resignation to his outside self, and but we don't know if but then again we don't know if he resigned or if he was fired essentially because they just say, yeah, PD won't be here. So we really don't know that either.
But
But
them firing him just seems
yeah,
dangerous.
because to me, this is not a place you get fired from.
Right, right. Like they want you to keep coming back. I don't know. I'm very interested to see how that part comes together because for him to have gotten the recording and not only have the map inside, but know the outside PD know that there's a map inside,
Mhm.
he either has to have help or, like we said, he bypassed it and then still came to work.
Yeah, it has to be something.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that is odd. I'm gonna ask you again. Who's calling PD?
I was just about to ask you that. I have no earthly idea. And why the hell does this phone have so much power?
it's,
This
it's one
phone,
of them old.
this
It's that Nokia, that first Nokia y'all has had.
they don't build them like they used to because
Mm-mm.
this phone has been on for like 2 weeks now.
It's still charged and ring, and that's the craziest thing. It's like it's on vibrate, so the battery should be dying even faster, but
Mhm.
it is not. I don't know. Anyway, Helly, did you notice her wiping?
Yeah,
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 that was
yeah.
crazy. So she had obviously her outie covered her scars with makeup.
Mhm.
And I saw
Mhm.
her in the bathroom and I was like, what is she doing? And
Yeah.
my husband was like, oh, she's washing it looks like she's cleaning her neck. So now you can see her scars
Mhm.
visibly. And I'm like, she is really still not giving up. It's like
Nope.
I don't want anybody to not know what happened. I want them to know what I tried to do. I want everybody to be reminded about what I tried to do, and I want y'all to know what I tried to do. And if I get a chance, I think she'd do it again. I
Yeah,
don't
it's like
know
the
what, but she tried.
yeah, it's like the meme of I think what's the like the goof troop dog? I'll do it again. Yeah, it's like but no, like she wants everyone to know what she did. And I guess we could go to the all right. So obviously Mark has his own questions. He wants to get out, but he knows like what this company is capable of, and he's not going to show it yet. Well, I won't even say he's ready to get out yet, but he's curious about why, basically the events are repeating and how he was able to effectively get out. So he pulls in Helly on the map project. He's like, help me basically reconstruct this map. My drawing is pretty crap, and it is. And so yeah, I keep going back to the long hallway, and first of all, that's a long ass hallway. But second, there clearly has to be places within Lumen that are
Restricted?
outside. Not, I wouldn't even say restricted, just outside of like the viewpoint of Harmony,
Mm.
because they were able to just kind of go down there.
Do you think well, the place that Mark took her so he could show her the map, that just looked like another office. Like it looked like the office just like
Mhm.
theirs. So do you think Harmony really didn't see it? Or it was a
No,
part of
I
the
mean
whole make them think they're free?
that part, yes, but the stumbling upon the
Oh, the
weird
ghost.
room. Yeah, because that because Mark did say we went on a mental health walk. So that part, yeah, that can be explained. But stumbling onto the goat room,
Hmm.
it seems like that would be outside of the plan. Because that seems like pretty significant. The guy was like, "Hey, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. Get out. It's not ready yet."
He seemed very distraught too. It's a bunch of
Yeah,
ghosts. Well, I also
it was a
added that.
lot.
It's a lot of ghosts. And there's I mean, but they maybe they think because the hallways are I mean, because the building is so uh strange that they won't go back to these places like they keep their way because I want to remind you that Mark told Irving to make a copy of their map, and that's
Mhm.
how he found the picture in the first place. Make a copy of the map so we can know where to go to get you. But I also thought I remembered them saying they weren't supposed to draw
Make
maps.
copies, yeah, make copies of maps in general. So now Irvin is in on the,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I will say this too. I kind of like how this department in particular, hmm, 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 hmm.
But yeah, it's like a light bulb.
I'm gonna
Feel it.
keep that with him. I'm gonna keep that one in my pocket
Boo.
because no, that wouldn't make sense, even though it is a cool theory.
What is the
Um,
theory? That's the whole point of this recap.
okay, okay. I was going to say if we are to say that the Handbook of Kier is almost like biblical,
Uh-huh.
that
Let's just say
portrait
it. We're gonna play it. It is the Bible. Go
that
ahead.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That portrait that hasn't been put up yet is almost like prophecy or a revelation. Because I was just going to say it's weird how this department in particular, they're like all in on something isn't weird now because they're all breaking protocol. Even Irving, who is like staunchly like by the book,
Hmm.
he's even breaking protocol now. He's so focused on going to O&D, he's like, cool, I'm gonna make this map. I don't care that it's breaking the rules. Um, Dylan is also, Dylan basically snitched on Irvin for falling asleep, but now he is secretly reading this book. They're all in on like this secret conspiracy now, and they all know it, but they're like kind of not speaking about it.
Hmm.
So it's like they're sharing the secret. So,
It
huh?
could it could be too because now Helly. And again, I never trust Helly to be or to do what she says she's doing when it comes to Lumen. Only because, and I say that, I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that it's like, I feel like she's just biding her time till she can get the hell out of there. So whatever I need to do, whoever I need to get close to find a way out, that's what I'm going to do. So her making a map, it might just be, again, her thinking, well, maybe this could get me out of here. Maybe if
Yeah.
nothing else, we can figure out a way out. But what I guess I don't understand why they want a map in the first place. Because they know how to get to the break room, they know how to get to wellness, they know how to get to the stairwell. Do they think there's another way out? Are they trying to find
I
other
know
compartments?
I know why Mark would want him out, obviously, but everybody else, why they're all in, like especially Irving, because I mean he
Yeah,
only
Irvin
has
and Love.
Irving only has like two destinations there, like his department and O&D, so he don't care about anywhere else.
Mm-mm. And he's been there for a very long time.
Hmm.
So he's kind of like indoctrinated. Is that a good word to say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very good word. Yeah.
Indoctrinated into the culture of Lumen
Mm.
more so than everybody else. Dylan is just very happy that he's a star student. That's what keeps him going. His finger traps, his caricatures, his waffle party, his melon bar. That's keeping him going. They've all seemed to have to fight. Like you have to find something that's going to keep you going. And those are their things. Mark doesn't have one anymore because I feel like Mark's was Petey. Now Petey's
Yeah.
gone. And Helly never had one, and she ain't gonna have one because she just don't want to be there. She doesn't. Which again, to your point, brings back. It feels like out of all of them, she is the one that's most likely there against her Audie's will.
Mm.
Like Mark's there because he's in pain, he's grieving. I don't know what Irvin, unless you know the theory about Irvin being gay and he's punishing himself for that. It could be a thing because his any wouldn't know that, right? His
Mm.
any would know that his outie is struggling with it. His any just knows, hey, this is how I feel about this person. Um, and I don't know what Dylan deal is. Like I don't know why he would be in there. I have no idea. He probably just volunteered because they said it was a cool thing to do, and he's like, why not? So
Yeah.
I think above anything, I really, 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 really want to meet Helly's outie. Do you think um Mark's niece? It was a girl, right? They had a girl. Did his sister
Mm.
have a girl? Do you think she'll affect him in any way?
I
As
think
far as his healing and grieving and all that?
yeah, I think so. I also think we're like it's weird that him being there somewhere he didn't want to be in the first place might be the catalyst for like getting himself out of Lumen, because don't forget that scene, that the birth scene where they were like revealing a secret, and Ricken was like, yeah man, you haven't read the book yet, and then Mark was like, what book?
Mm-hmm.
So sticking with the thing where the outside self subconsciously sends messages to the inside self. I think the more Mark reads that book and the more the book is talked about on the outside, those things might like link up.
They don't merge. Does he have neighbors other than Harmony?
Harmony is his only neighbor. He mentioned that. He was like, Miss Selvig is my only.
And I'm only asking that because there has to be a point where he was like, well, who the hell stole my book?
Right.
Only her. The only person that could have taken it. But he doesn't know her. He doesn't know well, he knows she's Lumen though, right? Because all of them are Lumen.
Hmm.
All of them supposed to be severed too?
Yeah, so I'm assuming Miss Selvig is there playing as a Lumen employee. I don't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying if he knows that on their
Hmm.
compound or complex or whatever, they're all Lumen people, then he knows she's also Lumen, then he might put together that she stole his book.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just curious and wondering. She's the only neighbor. That was the other thing. She's the only one. So but you do think the rest of them live on a Lumen complex as well? Irvin and Dylan and Helly?
That's because there's a lot of housing. Because by that map, we saw like houses, and it was like
Hmm.
a pretty substantial chunk. I think on like the east side of like the campus. So it would make sense that they stayed, but also I feel like since they work within the department, it would make sense that they're also like spread out.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. But
Because basically you wouldn't want because they leave staggered, and you wouldn't want them like basically driving up to like houses that are like close to each other either. And it makes sense that Mark, who was pretty high in his department, um will be living next to Miss Selvig. Um so I'm sure but they have to have like some kind of arrangement for like basically every like Lumen employee is living next to like a superior, basically. I don't know, but
right, and if that's the case, because remember, Petey said there's a department that doesn't leave.
Mhm.
Is that O&D?
It has to be O&D.
Does it have to be? Because we don't know how many departments there are. Could be a whole nother department. Could be the dude with the goats. He's just always
He
there with the
looked
goats.
he looked pretty comfy there. He's not leaving.
That's where he lives. I live here now. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't because there was a point when they said how many departments are there. And one of them said 30, and I think Mark said 5, and Irvin was like, nobody knows. Like nobody knows
Mm,
how many departments there are. So yeah, I there's a lot that we need answered, and we've only
mm.
got what 4 episodes to do it.
Yeah. I will say this though, like I'm allowing curiosity to basically have
Well,
its way.
mhm.
I'm not gonna dig too deep because I got a feeling that, and I mean this in the best way possible. I got a feeling we're all gonna be off, and then when we see what it is, we're gonna be like, oh shit, we did not see that coming. So I'll say this too. We spitball on this show, but at the same time, like just going on the ride is really the majority of the fun. Like I'm really enjoying this show because I like from week to week, I have no idea what to expect.
Do you what answers though do you think we'll get by the end of this season? Do you think we'll find out what Lumen does, or is that a whole grand reveal at the end?
We might find out what this department does.
Okay, okay.
Like we might find out what this department does. We might find out um Helly's deal because to me that's not sustainable. So I feel like we have to find out about that. So yeah, I feel like at the very least we'll find out about those things.
I think for it to your point, we have to find. We don't have to. I would like to know everybody's backstory, and it is sustainable if they do that per season. If they do one person
Mhm.
per season, you can do that, but you can't drag why is Helly here for the whole thing, because I think it'll get to the point where we're like, all right, come on, like you got to tell us something.
Right,
You have
right,
to. You
right,
got to give us something.
right.
So maybe we'll get that, or at the very least, we'll get Mark, because we've also found out a lot about Mark, so it'll be easy for them
Mm-hmm.
to give us a little bit more from him, or even Petey, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But one of those three, I think we can get the backstory, because they can save Dylan and Irvin and Bert and Milchick. They can really save all of them for later, because what's most pertinent right now to me are Mark and Helly, because they've
Mm-hmm.
given us so much already. And even again, even Petey. But I would be okay because Petey's no longer with us. So if they just like let that go, that's fine, because he's no longer part of the story. But we definitely need to know Helly, and we definitely need to know Mark. If
Mm-hmm.
nothing else, like what happened to make them say, I'm going to do this. And Mark, we know his wife died, but I still think we need more than just that.
You're
We
right.
need more than my wife died. And it needs to be like, what did the recruiter say? How did they approach you to get you to do this? What is going on? And for Helly, what prison are you in? On what island? Like, are you on Rikers during the
Who
night
knows?
and then Lumen during the day?
Or maybe she is in the prison of her mind, and but no.
Joint B, I don't know. But I will say this, I think I really appreciate the fact that they're doing things to already just like kill some stuff off. Like the idea that they never leave Lumen and it's just a mind fuck kind of type thing where you get on this elevator and you think you're doing something, but you're really just driving around and going back into the building. They killed that by letting Mark be outside of it. So you can
Yeah,
see that these people actually do have, well, at least Mark has an outside life. Like there's something other than Lumen for him. And then with Helly, she comes to work every day and she's dressed nice, she's made up, she cares about her appearance. So you would think that she's just not like somewhere in a dungeon, but maybe somebody's doing that for her for that reason. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know, but I'm curious to find out.
Me
Like,
too.
I need to know. Yes.
We do. Yeah. That's it.
But yeah, that's all we have for this episode. As usual, let us know what you think. What do you think is going on with like each of these characters? What do you think is going on with that department with Lumen? But yeah, that's all we have for this week. Until next time, peace.